Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is November 9th, 2020, and this is a Shamanic Egyptian Astrological Update. We have a busy astrological week. Today, November 9th, we have Venus moving into an opposition to Mars, and this is the beginning of a relationship between Venus, the planet of values. This is Isis in Shamanic Egyptian Astrology, moving through a relationship to the great shift planets, starting with Mars, and then later on this week, at the end of the week, Venus will move into a square to Jupiter and Pluto, and then on next week on the 19th, Venus will complete this process by moving through a square to Saturn. So this entire time, this next 10 days, is going to have to do with Venus, the principle of values in the sign Libra, moving through this challenging relationship to the great shift planets, which means that more of the great shift energy comes to the fore. Tomorrow on the 10th, we have Mercury, which is now direct, moving back into the sign Scorpio. Mercury left Scorpio on October 27th, turned direct on November 6th, and then now tomorrow is going to be moving back into the sign Scorpio. Scorpio is the water sign that is very much about things that are hidden, things that are under the surface, intensity, passion. Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury is Thoth in the Egyptian pantheon. Scorpio is boss. So we have some of that intensity coming back. We also have on the 12th, we have an exact conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. But this is, in many ways, this week, and this has been coming on for a little while now, this is a real uptick in the completion of the Great Shift alignment, which has dominated all of this year to have Jupiter, the principle of expansion. This is Horus in the Egyptian pantheon, in an exact conjunction to Pluto, who is the lord of the underworld, Osiris. And this energy has already been very much in play. On Saturday the 7th, we had the election called for Biden, and what happened on that day was we had Jupiter move on to the same degree as Pluto. That happened early in the morning on Saturday, and then will continue. Jupiter is going to stay on that same degree until the end of this week. So this is a very intense conjunction, and I'll be saying more about this in a minute. We also have on the 13th, which is Friday, we have Mars turning direct. Finally, Mars has been retrograde. This is Set, the warrior king, in his own sign since September 9th. And so he is finally going to be turning direct. He has retrograded back through a relationship in opposition to, a square to the great shift planets, and he will now be turning direct in an opposition to Venus. So that energy is going to be very strong this week. This week is going to be dominated by Mars stationary. And Mars is about forward motion. It's about creativity. It's about action. It's about making things happen. So, having it stationary means the warrior's kind of annoyed, because he cannot move forward in the way that he wants. And we also have Jupiter, the principle of expansion, Horus, in alignment with Pluto, the lord of the underworld, the god of death and rebirth. This is Osiris, lord of regeneration. We have them aligned, and that really comes into play toward the end of the week. And that's intense energy. It's going to be building and intensifying throughout this week. We have a Scorpio new moon at the end of the week, and this will take place on, it depends on where you live. Where I live on the east coast of the United States, it's happening in the morning of Sunday the 15th. If you live in different places, it might be later in the day on the 15th. If you live east of me, if you live west of the East Coast, it's going to happen the previous night, which is Saturday night the 14th. So it's a Scorpio new moon. This is Bast. Lots of intense energy coming forth during this time. Lots of Scorpio energy, which is very passionate, very intense, likes to push the envelope, likes to dive into the underworld. In the Egyptian pantheon, Bast awakens our holy longing. And she does that by awakening our desire nature, our passion, so that we're willing to move through processes of transformation and change. So we're willing to die to that which is finished and allow something new to be reborn. So we're going to have some intensity coming on as we move through the rest of this week. And so I want to come back to, what I said I was going to address, which is this alignment between Jupiter and Pluto. And as I do this, I want to remind everyone that this great shift alignment, which again is this alignment between Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. This is Horus, Osiris, and Sobek, the old king. It's been in effect all year. It remains in effect now. Right now, it's intensifying for the third and final time. And it will be completing itself as we move through the end of this year. So we still have this energy around, and we're definitely on the downhill slope. Or another way of saying it, which might be more appropriate, we're at the crescendo of this energy. Everything that this year has been about is in some way manifesting an external reality. And I'm going to get a little bit personal here, in part of what I want to share with y'all, right, about what's going on right now. As we move through the weekend and we came to this painful, this kind of drawn out issue around who had won the election and what that was, what was going to happen around that. And I know that there's been a lot of tension for people. It doesn't really matter your political orientation. That tension was definitely there. We had last week a square between Mercury stationary and Saturn that took place all of last week from the 1st through the 6th. And so that energy was very intense, and it really did mean that we were not able to have any resolution of the election on election night. It just wasn't there for us to have. And so, we're all kind of, on the edge of our seat one way or the other, just kind of waiting to see how this would all be resolved. And so we have a resolution, whether it's the one that you want or the one that you accept or not, we have a resolution. And so I want to really kind of point out to folks that we have this resolution, but the story's not over. The energies that this particular year has been about, which has been about the dismantling of the structure of society as we know it. These great shift alignment has taken place in the sign Capricorn, who's Khnum in the Egyptian pantheon. He's a creator god who created the creatures of the earth on his potter's wheel. And whenever we go through processes of transformation and change, he puts us back on his wheel so that he can reform us in some particular way. And that's definitely happening right now. There's a dismantling, a disassembling of society, and an opportunity to put it together in a new way. And that's what's really important. My sense was that over the weekend, the folks who were, happy that Biden had received the nod, that he was the one who was claimed the winner, were hoping for a return to normal. And what I want to say to you is that's gone. There's not going to be any return to normal. The disassembling of the structure of our society isn't even complete yet. It is still ongoing while we are simultaneously having a birth into something new, because that's how birth and death happen. They happen simultaneously, even though from our perspective, when we look at things through linear time, it looks like it's happening linearly. It's really not. Things are dying at the same time that something new within us is calling in something new. And it's very much the sign Scorpio, Bast, is all about, is that awakening within us of that desire for something new, which allows us to move closer to letting go of that which no longer serves us. And then one piece that I want to share, which is actually quite personal here, is that I think for a lot of us, these last 4 years have triggered a lot of PTSD for us. And many folks have grown up in a childhood situation where one of their parents, or perhaps a sibling, or someone in their family unit, or someone in their neighborhood or whatnot, was a bully. And the results of being exposed to a bully means that we are continually put into a place where there's a release within our body of adrenaline and cortisol. And that release within our body means that we go into a fight, flight, or freeze response. And so, this stays with us as we grow older. And so people have different responses when they encounter someone who personifies bullying characteristics. And whether you love Trump or hate Trump, and I'm not fond of him, I'll fully acknowledge that, I'm not fond of him at all. And the reason I'm not fond with him is because, for me, he carries these bullying characteristics. He's demeaning, he lacks empathy, he's unkind, he's cruel, he's mean. He treats people condescendingly, and he intimidates people purposely. Those energies were very similar to my father. So what I have come to realize, and I spent some time this weekend thinking about it and really, I already knew it was there, but sort of pointing it out even clearer for myself. And one of my biggest responses, to having Biden, who is not my favorite politician in the world at all, but having him be the new president, is that Trump's gone. The bully is gone. And Biden, at least, is kind of a nice guy. And I'm not kidding myself here. What I understand both as an astrologer and also as a citizen of the United States is that there's many things about our system that are broken, and that this dismantling that has been taking place, even though it's painful and it's scary, is absolutely needs to happen. And we're at the cusp of a place now where it's in some ways it's the most challenging part of this particular transit. Because those of us who are kind of relieved to have Trump gone, because we have a very personal, what I can call a PTSD response, a traumatic response to the energy that he holds. Those of us who feel that way, it's very easy to say, oh good, now we can get back to normal. Now we can get back to civility and kindness and all of that. When really the benefit of what Trump has done for us and the benefit of the political chaos that we've gone through over the last 4 years is it has really brought to the forefront the really substantive issues in our society that need to be addressed. And I don't know if Biden's the person to do it. I don't know that at all. But I do understand the relief that many folks feel and the kind of jubilation that they feel that Trump hopefully is gone. And we don't know that yet. The days and weeks ahead will show us whether or not this election holds as it is, or whether there are other forces that step in and change it. We really don't know yet. And that's what I really want to point out to folks is watch that part of you. And perhaps if you have that response yourself as, oh my gosh, this man is gone, spend some time internalizing, going inward. Who has he been to you? What does he mean to you? What does he signify to you? What is your response? What did you experience when you were younger? If you didn't grow up in a household where there was a bully around, I'm really glad for you. But a lot of people did, and a lot of people have these kinds of very visceral emotional responses to this man that come from the conditions that we grew up in. And so we can take those into this next realm as well. And I think it's very important for all of us to, first of all, understand this process is not over. It's going to continue for the end of this year. And we've got a new set of challenges that are coming in for next year. And another way of looking at this is we have a new set of opportunities. And these opportunities will be around building a new society and building a new world that better reflects our collective values, which aren't clear right now. We don't even know what those are. So there's a lot of work to do. So I do want to offer today a journey primarily with Horus, the new king, because he is going to be very strong this week. And wherever Jupiter shows up, whether it's by transit or within our individual charts, Jupiter expands the energy that it comes in contact with. So this week, Jupiter is really expanding Pluto, Osiris. This is the principle of transformation, the death rebirth process. In traditional astrology, Pluto's the lord of the underworld. All of this energy is being expanded, being increased by Jupiter by Horus. And what Horus also does, what the young king also does, is he gives us an opportunity to look to the future of what it is that, if we're willing to go through a death process and allow that which no longer serves us to die. And I think all of us have been working with this in one way or another during this year. If we're willing to do that, then he also brings us the vision of what it is that we want to replace this dying energy with. And so that's the journey that we're going to go on today, is we're going to meet with Horus and allow us to show us as individuals a vision of where we're going, what we're going to do, how can we take flight. In the Egyptian pantheon, Horus is allied with the falcon, the peregrine falcon. The thing about falcons is they're fast. They're not real big, but they're incredibly fast. They can hover. They hover over their prey, and they have incredible eyesight, and then they dive down and get what they want and pull it back up. So they have that ability. They strike fast, and they're fierce. And they also have the ability to see the bigger picture because they fly high. So let's go on a journey with Horus, the young king, and see what he has for each of us in terms of our future, what we're stepping into as we allow that which is dying, as we release it and allow it to die. So get yourself comfortable, feet on the floor. If you're lying down, get your body comfortable. Nice deep breath. Fully inhale and fully exhale. We cannot get air in if we don't release it. Nice deep breath. And let go of distractions. Feeling how with each nice deep breath, and keep that up, nice even breaths, feel how you drop deeper and deeper into your body. Coming down in. Getting comfortable inside this physical form. And let your shoulders drop. Let the muscles of your face drop. Scan your body, and anywhere where a muscle is perhaps tight, holding some tension, send some breath to it, let it go. And as you go through this process, you find yourself slipping deeper and deeper and deeper. And you find yourself standing in front of a temple that is perched upon a mountaintop. And this temple looks any way it looks. It's your temple. It can be built of stone or marble or wood, or it can be a temple in nature. It doesn't matter. It's yours. But it's on top of that mountaintop. And as you look around you, you can see far. It's an incredibly clear day. And you can see from this mountaintop for miles and miles and miles. It's a bright and sunny day. It's clear. The colors are brilliant and beautiful. And as you turn back to face your temple, you find yourself drawn to enter it. And as you do, you find this place is filled with light. It almost sparkles. It is so brilliantly light. And waiting for you here is the young King Horus. He may come to you in the form of a handsome young man. He may come to you in his falcon form. There may be another form. He can come in all kinds of ways. However he comes to you, it's right. And he welcomes you. He's so happy to see you. He gestures to you, inviting you into his temple. And you become aware, standing across the space that you're in, perhaps with his back against the wall, maybe leaning against a tree. There is another figure, a darker figure, somewhat more serious. This is Osiris, the Lord of regeneration, Lord of the underworld, the God of death and rebirth. Osiris is Horus's father. Osiris was killed by his brother Set, which initiated a war between Set and Horus that went on for centuries before Horus was able to ascend his throne. Osiris died not once but twice, and out of his death, new life was born. That new life is this beautiful young King Horus. So it's enough just to know that Osiris is present, that this never-ending cycle of death and rebirth, this spiral that has a linear process to it, but exists outside of linear time. It's simultaneous. There's constant processes of something dying and something being reborn. He's here just to hold space for that, to let you know that this is the background, the backdrop of all things. And his energy is very, very strong right now. This is a time of tremendous death and rebirth for our world, for society, and for each of us as individuals. So acknowledge him. He will stay where he is. Just acknowledge him. So Horus now wishes to take you on a journey. He wishes to give you a vision of who you are becoming, of what is being born in you. He wants to expand and strengthen this vision so that you hold it close to your heart. So nice deep breath now. I'm going to be quiet and let you go on a vision with the young King Horus. Nice deep breath. Horus will now help you to project this vision forward into the future. Into the person you are becoming. Feel yourself moving forward in time, manifesting, activating, integrating the vision that Horus has shown you. Nice deep breath. You are joined now by Isis. Isis is mother to Horus, consort, wife to Osiris. While Osiris takes us into a process of death and rebirth over and over and over again, Isis is always with us. She is with us through every process of transformation we go through. She wraps her rainbow wings around us. She supports the work of her husband and her son by holding us and soothing us and reassuring us, letting us know we are not alone. She wraps her rainbow wings around you. And she places one hand on your heart and one hand on your forehead, on your third eye. And she pulls you close. Rest against her. And allow her to integrate the vision that Horus has given you. Take a nice deep breath and slowly come back into the room. Thank you. We will talk again.